What's going on, world? This is your boy Dion back here with a new video for a different reason. I told y'all I was going to be expanding the channel and talking about things other than football, and I wanted to kind of wait until everything and the dust kind of settled on this one, um, until they had the charges, they did all that. So I didn't want to talk about this until before all of that was done, and now that all that is done, I'm gonna talk about it. So, Diddy trial. Basically, you see that the man got convicted of, two charges, two of the lesser charges. Obviously, the government didn't get him on any of the racketeering stuff. He basically wound up getting off on that stuff. But let's get to the root of what really happened and why Diddy wound up in this situation. Hey, mom. And why did he wind up in this situation in the first place? Because it's very simple. What happened was Diddy thought he was above everyone. Um, if anybody knows Sean Combs and knows of him, you know what I'm saying, you kind of start to understand why these things happen. Sean Combs been around, been in the music industry for years. Started out at Uptown Records with Andre Harrell and a bunch of people Heavy D, God rest his soul, Mary J, God rest his soul, Andre Harrell, like lots of people. And at the end of the day, man, you know what I'm saying, he started out there, he paid his dues, he made his bones there, so to speak. But things just kind of went south because Diddy wanted to be the boss, and that wasn't working out. So, if you watch the Notorious movie, Puff Daddy, portrayed by Derek Luke in the movie, basically says, like, I got fired, I ain't got nothing. And he's telling this to Big, So when you take a look at it just from a business standpoint, and you look at everything that was there, you look at all of the things that are going on, it very simply put, it's just a situation where, you wonder how the man got where he got. Now, there are lots of rumors about, Diddy and how he got his start. Rumors about him and Clive Davis, and them doing some, things behind the scenes. Reportedly, Mr. Combs doing some things, some strange for a little piece of change to be able to get his label off the ground. Because if you think about it, Bad Boy, Arista, who was the head of Arista at the time? Clive Davis. You know what I'm saying? Clive Davis had Mariah Carey. He had Whitney Houston. He had just a bunch of hosts. And we all know how the music industry works and what they do and don't do. And to be honest with you, if you couldn't see Sean Combs' bisexuality in the beginning, you were blind to it, and you just didn't see it. The man had a dude in the video, in several of Biggie's videos. One guy had on a headband, but he was wearing a bra. The young lady possibly could be trans, and she was in the bed with Biggie. She was in the bathroom with the dudes in the Juicy video. You know what I'm saying? And she's standing up pissing just like them. There's a variety of things that were shown. There were interviews with Puff and with Big, where they were just a little over affectionate with people. It's kind of like, about all that. The little over affectionate with each other. Just a variety of different things, and Sean Combs as a music executive, was he, a good businessman? Yes, for himself. That's who he was a good businessman for. He learned and understood the business, and most of his artists wound up getting screwed over. When you think about it, Bad Boy ain't dropped a hit in God knows how long. He hasn't been in the music industry like that in a very long time. When you see what Diddy has done throughout his career and the people that he's put out, where are they now? Like, he started, the first actual artist on Bad Boy that actually had a hit was Craig Mack. It was not Biggie. Biggie came after Craig Mack. But Craig Mack was the one who pretty much set everything off with Flavor in Your Ear. Craig Mack got robbed. You know what I mean? Diddy did him greasy on his deal and whatnot. I don't even know where Craig Mack is. And you've seen several Bad Boy reunions. Craig Mack is nowhere to be found. You know what I'm saying? So that just tells you, obviously, the business wasn't right. Keith Murray just came out not too long ago and said Diddy basically took all his publishing and is asking him, for his publishing back, due to the fact, like, hey, man, I need that money. I got kids, I got this, I got that. Um, so it's a variety of different things. But let's just take a look at Diddy and his musical journey. He was around with Jodeci. He was around with Mary J. Blige. A lot of people linked him to Justin Bieber. We all saw that infamous video of him and Bieber, standing there and Bieber looking, Bieber being just a fresh-faced Canadian 15-year-old kid, who had his permit, and Diddy's telling them, yeah, once we're done with the weekend, this is yours. Oh, but we can't disclose where we at and what we doing. Why not? First of all, why is a grown man sitting there with a 15-year-old kid and you got to be hiding where you are and what you're doing? As my first thing about this sometimes when it comes to certain situations is, where are the parents? The parents need to be around. The parents need to be present during these meetings, during these situations, because you don't know what they're doing to your children. Now, look, there's a lot of speculation out there about what happened to Justin Bieber, and we all know the stories about what happened between Diddy and Usher. We all saw that infamous video with Kevin Hart where it kind of got real, a little really sketchy when it came down to it. And the main thing for me is the society that we live in today is very accepting. It's very accepting of people and the way that they want to live and the things that they want to do. Hell, we trying to fight to get men out of women's sports. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to make sure that people in the trans community stay in the trans community and don't come out there stealing women's glory because they can't do good enough as males. So it is what it is. But at the end of the day, when you look at Diddy, you look at his deals. So let's just go through some of the people that Diddy has. So he started out with Craig Mack. Craig Mack, nowhere to be found. He robbed him. He started out with Biggie. Where's Biggie? Unfortunately, man has passed away. God rest his soul. He started out, he had Mace. Mace is now doing It Is What It Is with Cameron, and he's doing perfectly fine. We all know Mace went and became a pastor for a little bit after his rap career was over. Then you take a look at Total. No one knows where any of the members of Total are. You take a look at Lil' Kim. She's out there, but we all see what happened to Lil' Kim. Lil' Kim went and, this is one thing that I say about plastic surgery. It's an addiction. And she went and got that knife once, and she's been back ever since. And she out here just, Lil' Kim is a female rap pioneer, but as far as her looks, she looks ridiculous right now. And she knows she does. That is way too much plastic surgery. I don't know what she was thinking, but it's all bad. What's going on, Seahawks, Eddie? But when it comes down to it, when you look at these things, so you see those dudes, you see Biggie, you see Craig Mack, you see Total, the Locks. The Locks were signed to Bad Boy through Rough Riders. They're doing very well. All of those dudes had their own ventures on their own. Styles P got his Juices for Life. Jada Kiss has his coffee with him and his dad. And Sheik Louch has his own, business ventures that he's doing on his own. But those dudes are lucked out. They're doing well. But why? Because they weren't signed directly to Diddy. They were signed through Rough Riders, through Bad Boy. And then they have their deal. You all know about the infamous Breakfast Club interview where they're on the phone and, they're basically saying like, yo, you still got our publishing. You have this, you have that. You owe us money. And he's telling them, come to the office. Let's talk about this, blah, blah, blah. Everybody knows the Locks can't get into that office because why? They've been barred from the building. The last time they came up there, they didn't come up there very peaceful. You got Loon. He gets robbed. Black Rob. God rest his soul. He unfortunately passed away. Carl Thomas, he disappeared for a cool little minute. You had saw the rise of Farnsworth Bentley. and now this dude, he just in the shadows, and there were there were things out there about him saying that he was a klepto, he'd be stealing stuff, So you start looking at all the people around him. You look at the band, and that was just a ploy for him to make some money because he never had actual plans for either one of them, Danny Kane or the band, and what I'm saying, all of that. He never really had actual plans for these people. He just was trying to make a quick buck. You get all that money from the studios. You got people walking, for cheesecake and all kinds of crap. Now it's rumored that the cheesecake was for Beyonce and she was upstairs. There's a bunch of different stuff, man. So you're gonna hear a lot of things, but basically when you see Shine took the fall for Diddy in that shooting in the club where it was him and Jennifer Lopez. All of these things are out there for people to go and take a look at and research, and at the end of the day, when you take a look at Sean Combs and his musical journey, there's a lot of mystery and a lot of issues that go on. He had Sean John clothing for a while, wound up selling that. But let's get to the root of the video. So the reason that Diddy had all these troubles in the first place and that everything started was, once again, he got, as they say in the South, he got a little too big for his britches. And basically Diddy wound up doing a little too much with the company that he wound up working for. So if you don't know who Diageo is the largest liquor brand company in the world. They own all of the high-end shit that you drink, your Patrons, your Cirocs, your De Leons, all of these massive liquor brands that you know about. Diageo is their parent company. If you don't understand business, what you have to do is you have to understand that they're parent companies and there are subsidiaries. It's very simple. So hypothetically speaking, I used to work for a company called Fry's. It was a grocery store, Fry's Food. Fry's Food is a subsidiary of Kroger. Kroger is the parent company, and Kroger has a host of companies across the country. You've got Kroger's, you got Ralph's, you got Fry's, you got Fred Meyer's, so on and so forth. So that's what you just have to understand about business. There are parent companies and then subsidiaries of that company because they're the ones who fund these companies. So basically what happened with Diageo, long story short, was they had Ciroc. And Ciroc was a new brand, and basically it just wasn't doing well. It sucked. Basically, there was nobody drinking it. There was certain things that just weren't happening. And basically, Diddy's name got thrown out as an ambassador for the vodka. Diddy took it and turned it into a global phenomenon. Everybody was drinking Ciroc. Hell, Drink Champs had Ciroc sitting at their tables for once. Why? Because Diddy started Revolt TV. So his business acumen is actually very good. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit up here and say that man does not know business, because he does. It's just you have to understand how to stay in your lane and not poke the wrong bear. And that's what he did. So basically they came to him about Ciroc. Ciroc takes off, like a rocket. Boom. Hey, we love it. Sales are up. This looks great. Yada, yada. Thank you so much. Hey, by the way, we hear you want to get into the spirits world. And if you guys don't understand what spirits are, it's liquor. So we hear you want to get into the spirits world. What would you like? I want my own tequila. I want to call it De Leon. Okay. So they give him that. In the process of this, what happens is they give him that and they promise him certain portions of land for him to be able to grow his agave on. Now, once again, this is why I say that while Diddy may be a disgusting human being when it comes to his sexual life and the disgusting things that he does, business acumen is very, very good. So Diddy surveyed what he had versus what other people had. And he was wondering why what was promised to him wasn't given to him. And this is where everything takes a left turn. So he realizes, hey, I don't have as much land as y'all told me I was going to have to grow my agave for my liquor that I'm trying to put out, and that I'm trying to make sure that I mass produce to get out to the world so everybody can drink my stuff. I'm big enough in the entertainment industry in general to a point where I've been able to sell people my product just based off of it being me. You know what I'm saying? And people saying, hey, by the way, even though it's puff and I'm trying to do them a solid, this is actually good tequila. So moving on from that, once he realizes that, he does what any smart businessman would do. He started asking questions. Hey, y'all told me I was going to get a certain amount of land for this. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm looking and I don't have that. Everybody else got theirs. You know what I'm saying? And hey, what's going on, man? What do you say? Oh, calm down, sir. Calm down. I am not. Okay, this is a fake background. Dion is at home. Don't do that, media. My guy. That's my dog, 49er Media, man. If y'all come into the comments, give him a shout out. Young man graduated college more recently, and he's doing some great things, and he's going back to school. But basically what happens is, he starts asking questions, and one thing you have to understand about these companies and one thing you have to understand about the world is, unfortunately, racism does exist. Okay. And it happens on every level. It happens from every person. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I got you, media. It happens to every person. So that does not make it that you be black, white, orange, yellow, purple, green, brown, red, whatever. People get discriminated against all the time from all walks of life. All different, different colors of the melanin that you do or don't have in your skin. So basically, what happened to Diddy was the same thing that happened to, when it comes to this specific deal. I'm going to state that when it comes to the way that his liquor was handled by Diageo. So I'm going to liken it to what happened with Master P and Snoop Dogg. They both went into business having their cereals and having their product out. Snoop Dogg has his 19 Crimes line of alcohol, all of these things. But when it came to the cereal, Snoop and Master P were noticing that they, sales weren't making sense. You got a lot of people that want to buy this cereal. You link up with Walmart, but your cereal isn't on the shelf. Your cereal is still in the back. So once again, this digs further into business. Because when you look at Walmart, everything you see on the shelf costs money. And when I say it costs money, I mean that spot on the shelf costs you money. You need to pay for that spot for your product to go in that place in the store. You have to pay for that. Every spot you see, from General Mills to Post to Procter and Gamble, to McCormick's, all of these brands are paying for those spots. Clorox, all that stuff. Gain. Everybody pays a fee to the store that they are in to have a spot where their product is featured. And that's what Snoop and Master P did. But the thing is, their product wasn't being featured. It was being filled up by other things that were not supposed to be there. And so they had to go and get after Walmart like, hey, man, we signed a deal for you to be able to put our product on the shelves. You're not. That's not cool. That's bad business, so on and so forth. So this is what happened with Diddy. Hey, you promised me, a certain amount of land. You promised me this. You promised me that. You didn't do that. Now I'm upset and I'm asking questions and you're not giving me the truth. So now what do? I go get my high-powered team of lawyers and I sue and I win. Now, see, here's the thing. I don't think Diageo as a company would have been too bothered had he lost that case, but he won. So now to the world, Diageo as a parent company and all of those subsidiaries wind up being affected by this too. Now you look bad. You look racist. And you don't want to do that. You don't want that stain on your company's image. You want your image to be, we are for everyone. Because at the end of the day, baby, money is green. Don't care how it come to you. As long as it's green and there's a dead president on it, you can be happy about it. And it comes in all shapes and sizes and colors. You got the euro, you got the yen, you got the rupee, you got all kinds of different. It don't matter. Money is money. So that's all that matters at the end of the day. The thing is they lost a lot of money in that trial, and they don't like that. You know what I'm saying? Big parent companies don't want to be played with, and they are not to be played with because they have the funds. John V, man, where the heck have you been, bro? You got to get at me, man. It's been a very, very long time, man. Hope you, the family, and the kids and everybody is doing great out there. Shout out to your boys. From the locker room rant, tell them I said what's up. But this is basically the situation. So you sue them And then you see everybody talking about it. You even see him speaking about it. Once again, this is where it's a fine line to talk about the man in different aspects. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know we've all seen that infamous YouTube video where, excuse me, he acts a damn fool. He throws a 2-year-old temper tantrum. He's on the phone, tells somebody to bump them, and he hangs the phone up and slams it down. Yeah, I'm a savage. Whatever I want, I have to have it. And just acting like a 12-year-old, man. It's very, very bad. But if you notice, right after the trial, randomly, now Diddy's in trouble. Randomly, that video of him, beating Cassie in that hallway shows up. Randomly, now your houses are getting searched. Homeland Security? Really? For some guy in the entertainment industry? Why? This don't make sense. But why does it make sense? Because that's how companies move. See, once you start to get into the upper echelon of business and of money, nobody wants to physically fight you. Nobody wants to brawl with you, on that level. They hit you where it hurts. When you hit you, where do you hit a rich person? In their pockets. The worst thing a rich person can do is lose money. Don't believe me? I'll give you a prime example. I used to work at a grocery store in LA, very, very affluent area. There was a lady that came in. This lady had very good amounts of money. She was not broke by any stretch of the imagination. She couponed all throughout the week and would come in, and she would go right into the aisle. You see her buy everything. This lady would buy $300-400 worth of stuff and pay about half of it because she knew how to coupon. She knew what she could double. She was doing all these things. Why? To conserve her money. Don't get me wrong. In that same store that I worked at, there are people coming in there sliding every credit card they could find under the sun just to be able to pay, $40-50 worth of crap. So it all depends on the person that they are. But that's how you mess with a rich person. Rich people don't understand actual physical altercations and death threats and all that crap. Rich people know, hey, you really want to bother me, come try to hit me in my pockets, and then now we got a problem. So, hey, man, thank you so much, John. Nothing but love to you, baby. But for me, that's where it all starts. And Diageo, once again, as I stated, biggest liquor brand in the world. They are the parent company to all of the big liquor brands. So you really don't think they got the money in the pool to be able to call in favors like this? Because they do. Now, we all found out about Diddy being a disgusting human being when it comes to his sex life and the things that he did and how he videotapes everything, all of the things that he did, to Cassie throughout her time. Also looking at it from the standpoint of, looking at this this Jane girl, whoever she was. This is what I will say. When it came to the prosecution, calling Cassie, perfect thing. Calling this Jane Doe, not a good look. He's still paying this woman's rent, for God's sakes, people. The man is still paying this woman's rent to this day, and you gonna call her up there on the stand? She just looked like she was desperate. And I'm be honest with you, I'm not saying that anything that happened to her was okay or that she was, that she's wrong for speaking out. But I'm gonna be honest with you, just looking at from the way that everything was described. Shout out to Law and Crime because I was watching them, to keep up with the trial and all the things that were going on for the most part. To be honest with you, it just sounded like she wanted to be Cassie. She wanted to be in Cassie's spot. She wanted to be that person that he went crazy over and all of these things. We heard about the Kid Cudi situation and his car being blown up and all that other stuff. And we all know how that works, man. Some people just think they're above the law and can do what they want to do. We've heard unfortunate accusations of, Sean Combs, just serial raping just about anyone. And basically blackmailing them with, hey, you say something, I'll put this out to the world, things of that nature, all these types of situations. But when it came to the trial with the prosecution, my number one problem was they never called Christina Korn. The defense didn't call Christina Korn. And to me, that leaves a lot of suspicion, and that tells me this was a smear campaign. Basically, hey, look, man, we gonna hit you in your pockets. We gonna make you look bad. We're gonna expose that disgusting behind the scenes life that you have. Now, one thing that I want people to take into account when it comes to this is there are a bunch of people in the entertainment industry doing the same crap that Diddy does. The only difference between them and him is the fact that that man wants to be in the public eye. He needs the attention. Some of these people do not want the attention. They want to be crazy and disgusting and weird and private. Diddy was like, nah, I'm out here. You know what I'm saying? You've seen so many different things. And I've watched, I've seen this from day one when it came to Sean Combs, as far as watching Craig Mack and Biggie and all these cats and just the bad boy run, because that's the era that I grew up in. You know what I'm saying? I'm an 80s baby, but I found my way in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? That's all the stuff that I saw and things that I heard. And, you know what I'm saying? They said that he was the one. I mean, KVD came out and said it. He was the one who got paid. He got paid by Diddy to kill Tupac. So it just, brings it back to the point where they didn't even did the prosecution not even calling Christina Quorum tells me once again smear campaign, because when you typically when you prosecute somebody on a RICO charge, the RICO charge has co-conspirators. These are people that are in the organization that will go down along with you if you got a real RICO charge. I think the perfect example I can think of is they got BMF on RICO. So you got Big Meech, you got Southwest T. Southwest T was the quiet one in the background. Don't want nobody to know what the hell he doing. Big Meech, the flashy one out there in the public eye. I want everybody to know that that BMF is the shit and we the ones, all of those things. Hey, what's going on, Dave? So when you take a look at it, what happened in that RICO case? A bunch of co-conspirators. You know what I'm saying? You got Blue Da Vinci, you got a bunch of other people, you got people who are handling finances, all kinds of things. All these people wound up either copping to a plea or having something to do with the trial where they possibly would have done jail time. J-Bo, all these cats, you know what I'm saying? There's a variety of different names out there. But when you see this stuff, you know what I'm saying? It everybody looks and they're like, damn, it's really like that? Yeah, it's like that. So typically with a RICO case, you're going to have a lot of other people. So if they were really trying to push this, then D-Rock would have been on the stand. Gene Deal would have hit the stand. You know what I'm saying? Hell, even Jaguar Wright would have hit the stand because she was around during the days and saw some of the disgusting stuff. She said herself, if I'm not mistaken, she started out as like a dominatrix or something. So you see all of these things that are happening, and you start to see the veil being lifted off of Hollywood, and what's going on there. And you see these dudes and these cats, not necessarily wanting their lives to be revealed. But when you got somebody like that records everything, yeah, there's limitations to what you can do, what you can say, because a person like that does what? When they get backed into a corner, they're gonna sing like a canary. He's gonna tell. You just know already off the rip, no one came to his defense. All of his celebrity friends, all these people that be at these freak off parties, your LeBron Jameses, your Will Smiths, you know what I'm saying, your Jay-Z's, your Beyonce's, your Mary J. Blige, all these people, you know what I'm saying. You even got Meek Mill, who we all unfortunately have possibly, heard about or heard that disgusting audio, you know what I'm saying, of things happening. You know what I'm saying? And you even got him now, talk about no Diddy gang and all this other crap. So there's a variety of things that go on. And it just doesn't make sense that all these people magically disappeared, but before they was all your friends. Ellen DeGeneres, if I'm not mistaken, left the country. Leo DiCaprio then left the country. A lot of these people basically left because they want to, make sure that, hey, if they trying to extradite us, we don't want to be somewhere where we can be. Because you get fearful because you have somebody like that and you know their character, you know what they'll do. They'll do whatever they need to do to save their ass. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is what happened with Jay-Z and Dame Dash when it came down to Rockefeller. Jay-Z wanted to be the one. He wanted to be the only one. And he was not willing to split anything anymore with Dame Dash. Now, Dame Dash was definitely a great CEO. You know what I'm saying? But these are things that happen. So when you take a look at this, You have no co-conspirators. You're not calling and they called maybe a couple people that he worked with. But the thing is when you're doing this, I'm sorry, I call Gene Deal. I call, his so-called mama, which we all know is his aunt. If I'm not mistaken, I believe both of, Sean Combs' parents are unfortunately passed away. But these are all the things that happen. And if I'm doing this, I'm calling Gene Deal, I'm calling Jaguar Wright, I'm calling D Rock, I'm calling any of these people Cassie name, Christina Quorum, you know what I'm saying? I'm definitely calling pretty much a good chunk of his security because they're the ones watching and condoning half this crap that goes on. You know what I'm saying? And that to me tells me that this was just a smear campaign to hit him in the pockets. Because when you think about it, you get two of the lesser charges, which is basically, transportation for the reason of prostitution. So those charges, I think both of them each, don't quote me on this, carry a sentence of a maximum of at least 10 years. So he could proverbially do, 20 years in prison. Here's the thing. He's not going to do 20 years in prison. He might do maybe 2 or 3, but he ain't doing 20. They're going to give him a deal. He's going to do whatever time he has. He's already going to get credit for time served. So that's going to lessen the amount of time he has to stay in there. And then they're going to let him out. That's just how this works, people. Now, is this right? No. Has he victimized and raped and done mean and disgusting, nasty things to a lot of people? There are tons of allegations out there that say that he has. You know what I'm saying? We see what happened with Cassie and all of those things, and to me personally, when you look at what happens, it's very simple. Cassie was living a certain life. She didn't necessarily want to get away from that life, but then at the same time, on top of that, you wind up just being forced into a relationship that you don't want to be in. You wind up doing stuff you don't want to do. The male escort business is now saying that their business is hurt because now people don't want to wind up in a case. They don't want to wind up with a sex trafficking case. Because they're flying people in from here, there, and everywhere to be able to commit these acts and do whatever they do. At the end of the day, man, prostitution is the oldest profession in the world. It's been around from the beginning of time. It truthfully has. And I'm not saying it's right, but this is something that's always been around. So when it comes to this trial, we're waiting until October to hear what his actual sentencing will be. They did deny him bail. He is not getting out, so he's not going home. You know what I'm saying? His family was there in support of him and things of that nature. You know what I mean? But it's just all of the stories and things that you heard were disgusting. Like it's like you look at people, you're like, how do you live like this? Why are you okay with this? And there's a lot of debauchery and I mean, look, everybody like to get a little freaky. I ain't gonna judge nobody. Live your life. You want to be a little freaky, do your thing. You know what I'm saying? But some of us are a little more conservative, and I definitely can tell you right now, a good majority of people on the planet are not doing what we heard on that stand. I'm not going to repeat any of it because it's actually really disgusting, and I have the stuff that was said and the way that these people were treated and things that happened are just really hard to swallow. It's a hard pill to swallow, pause. But for me personally, I'm going to say this, probably 2 to 5 years maximum. That's probably all he would get. I doubt he's going to serve any more time than that. If they do let him out on bail, obviously, I'm saying right when he gets his sentencing or something like that, if they try to give him house arrest, there's a I think there was a bail bondsman that's working to try to get him somewhere where he doesn't have Wi-Fi. They can limit the people that he can see while he's during his probationary period, all these things, but it's like, you don't want to get back in touch with the people that he worked with because they're going to do whatever he asks because he's the one paying them. He's the one supporting their lives, and to me personally, whenever you do a RICO act, period, point blank, you've got to convict more than one person. This is in movies. This is in real life. You know what I'm saying? When Nino Brown was about to get convicted in New Jack City, what did he say? Shit, I got a list of them up going down with me. I ain't going down by myself. So That's how these people think. I'm not going down by myself. I'm not about to be the one. I'm not going to be the only one here that just, gets raked over the coals for all these things. There are other people that were involved in this. But you see these things and you have to understand in Hollywood, they have handlers of different people. And sometimes that handler could be your producer or your manager or just someone around. I believe that KK is Diddy's handler. Why? No mention of her whatsoever. I mean, there was mention of her in the trial, but she didn't hit the stand. D-Rock ain't hit the stand. None of his security hit the stand. Y'all ain't call his kids. You know what I'm saying? You didn't call real celebrity witnesses. Like, all of this just screams smear campaign to ruin your reputation, destroy it to the point where it can't be rebuilt and you can no longer do business. And that's what it is. Because think about it like this. When he gets out, who's going to want to do business with him? Nobody. Nobody's doing business with that man at all. Why? It's a bad look. So you do business with that dude? The only way people are doing business with them is if he has dirt on them, or if he has some kind of, freak off tape that he can solicit to the world, and back them into a corner to be able to give them money, do whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's how that's working. But you see these people, most of these people that he had around, they gone, they ain't nowhere to be found. You know what I'm saying? We got Donald Trump. We know that his name is in those Epstein files, unfortunately. Why do you think they haven't been released? Why do you think he's now changed course? When he first got in, I'm going to release him, I'm going to release him, I'm going to release him, I'm going to release him. Several months, still ain't released him. And now it's, you guys are still talking about that? We all know that Epstein didn't kill himself. We all know there are a lot of high-profile names in those documents, and that's why that hasn't been released. It's just that simple. And it won't wind up getting released. You'll never find out who was on those files. We can only speculate. But I can tell you this, if my name ain't on the files, why am I worried about releasing it? Because there's too many high-profile people that are on those lists. So it kind of is what it is when it comes to that. But at the end of the day, we'll wait till October. We'll see what his sentencing is. Once again, I say about 2 to 5 years maximum. They're going to have to give him credit for time served, because that is just that's the way things are done legally. You cannot hold someone in jail for 2 years and then not give them credit. You know what I'm saying? If who's dead? That's what I'm asking. Who are you talking about, John? But when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, great smear campaign by the government, by Diageo, to make sure that, though he won, that he won his case, and they were mad about that. They're like, you can't come and do business with us and then turn around and sue us and tell us we racist and we're this and we're that, and then we just supposed to continue to do business with you. That does not work. The best. Oh, Epstein? No. I'm pretty sure he's gone. He's definitely gone. Yeah, unfortunately, they say he did. We all know he didn't unalive himself. That much is true. But I think Epstein's definitely gone. But when it comes down to it, and you look at everything, it's just a situation of understanding your place in the business, and you overstepped your boundaries. These people had to be able to smack you in the face and bring you back down to reality, and that's what they did. You know what I'm saying? I get it. Over the years, the man has done a ton of different things, but at the end of the day, these types of parties and the things that go on, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know. There's a lot of people you could look at and be like, I don't really know if that guy's gone or not. I mean, heck, people say they swear they see Elvis alive. People said Tupac was in, I think, Cuba or Puerto Rico or something like that. There's a variety of different things that people talk about, but you never know because we're not physically there when these things are going down. But when it comes down to it, great smear campaign by Diageo. They messed with that man's pockets. They made him lose ridiculous sums of money. Shout out to the dummies that were out there supporting this fool, squirting baby oil on each other like idiots. Like, I don't understand. Yeah, It drives me insane when you go to support someone, you hear all of the disgusting things that they do, and you're out there supporting that person. So you mean to tell me you okay with Diddy drugging you and raping you? Or I apologize, hard on. You know what I'm saying? Like you must be okay with this stuff. You must be cool with it because you out here supporting the person. I would never support somebody who did these types of things. You know what I'm saying? I have 6 sisters, you know, and I would never want any of my sisters to see me supporting a man who's done these things to women and to men, by the way. You know what I'm saying? There are plenty of men out there that have accused Diddy of hard R'ing them in many different ways. Like lots of people have said it. You know what I'm saying? And it to me it just says you really got an issue, you got a real problem, you need to get it fixed, you need to go see a psychiatrist, and you need to be able to grow up too. Because to have some of the temper tantrums that Diddy had that we all were, that we all could see for the public, that's not good business. You know what I'm saying? Business people, they don't do that stuff. If they do, you'll never see them do it in public where it gets outed. You're not going to catch people, throwing temper tantrums, slamming phones. I get what I want. Like nobody's doing all that. So, you know what I'm saying? Look, and Bieber, we all know the situation with him. We all heard what went on. You know what I'm saying? The speculation is he was signed to Usher. Usher took him to Diddy as a sacrifice, and Justin Bieber. We've all seen the way that Justin Bieber was treated throughout his career. I mean, who was it? I cannot remember her name right now. But the chick from, why is her name? Bridget Nielsen. When she was up there on stage, she tried to kiss all on him. You seen him run away like, bruh, nobody want that. You know what I'm saying? We heard about Jennifer Lopez. We heard about Kim K. All of them looking at Justin Bieber while he was underage, which is, you know what I'm saying? I mean, as dudes, you think, oh, man, it's an older woman. Technically and legally speaking, you do anything with those people and you are underage and they are of age, that is a hard R situation. It is what it is. Now, don't get me wrong. Lots of men are raised, hey, bro, that's not what happened. You know what I'm saying? You just bagged you an older broad. Like those are stripes earned by men that we mess with older women, that we've got, millions, more notches in our belt to say, I did this, I did that. No. That's not okay. You still have to be understanding and knowing, hey, man, this happened to me. I was taken advantage of. Though I may not have understood it at the time, damn, in hindsight, yeah, that did happen to me. So I'm not saying it happened to me. I'm just saying like that's how you would think in that moment. So at the end of the day, man, it's very simple. Great smear campaign by Diageo to mess with that man's pockets and mess with his money, which is all they wanted to do. And basically, great job by the feds to play along with everything. Because we all know if the feds are going to really prosecute you and they really want to get you and they want you to go to jail, they got like a 96 or 97% win rate. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they go hard? And if this was if it was a real RICO case, you're going to see more people than a couple of people that he did these disgusting things to than some, one-off assistant that says, yeah, dude's a little crazy. You got the defense opening up and saying, yeah, we know dude violent. We own that. That's just man needs help. But then you got the prosecution, which is the federal government, taking it easy and chilling, not calling key people to the stand. When you know that those people have valuable information that'll help you win your case, this isn't making sense. Why would you not? So that, once again, smear campaign, mess with the man's pockets. Now that we done mess with your pockets, doesn't matter what you got from us. You're going to have to survive off whatever you have. and we hope that you got good investments because I think he's not even 60 yet. So technically speaking, he got himself, if he can make it to a hundo, he got himself another 40 on the planet, and he better make every dime stretch because people are going and want to disappear. Now, don't get me wrong, in Hollywood, they do these smear campaigns sometimes, and then they just make you disappear for a little bit. You take a step back, and then what happens? You actually go ahead and say, hey, look, we got this for you. Go into this lane. This is where people don't really know a lot about you. You can still go out there and get some bread. You know, Charlie Sheen did some very, very wild and ridiculous things. He still wound up having 2.5 men for a while until they eventually said, all right, look, Charlie, you did too much. Now we're going to put in somebody else. But for the most part, he was there. So when you look at these things and you see how all this stuff plays out, you just have to be mindful and be understanding that this is what happened and this is why it happened. It's very simply put. In October, Diddy will be sentenced. He'll be given credit for time served. He most likely will probably get about 2 to 5 years, mark my words, if he gets that. If he does go out on probation, they'll probably have ankle monitors and a bunch of other things going on. But at the end of the day, this was a campaign to destroy that man's reputation, and it was done successfully and completed successfully. No more Lucian Grainge from UMG funneling your pockets, or any of these high record execs, lacing you with cash. You know what I'm saying? It basically comes down to the point of, hey, you can either sell freak off tapes or start changing stuff. Because what do a lot of these rappers do? Put a lot of things in their mother's name. Why? Because that gives you the opportunity to not be taken to court and be taken to the cleaners by somebody if you decide to get married, whoever you marry. So these are things these are necessary steps that you take to be able to say, hey, look, man, I ain't that dude. I don't have anything. What are you going to get from me? I don't have much. Everything is in her name. This isn't mine. So it's not to say that isn't obvious what people are doing, but it's not illegal for you to do that. So we'll see what happens in October. But I did want to wait till everything, the dust settled. They had some type of verdict and whatnot, because talking about it while it was there is very clickbaitish, and I'm not a clickbait type of dude. I don't do all that. You know what I'm saying? I just like to come and try to bring you facts. And people will give you a million different things to talk about with this case. I'm not doing all that. This is a waste of my time. At the end of the day, the man had a smear campaign against him because he sued the company, got too big for his britches, and they basically slapped him, put him in his place, and said, sit down, be quiet, and we're going to run your pockets for a lot of money, because you got to pay for the lawyers. You still paying whoever that Jane Doe is, you still paying her rent and probably several other people's rent. Like, everything that you're doing is going, through your company, through Combs Enterprises. And, it's easy to trace this stuff back. You know what I'm saying? It also tells us, unfortunately, this man has a really bad drug addiction. And he needs to get himself clean. Hopefully that time in jail has not allowed him to, get a hold of any drugs that he normally would do. And hopefully, it cleanses his system. And when he gets out, he can chill the fuck out. Me personally, you let this crazy dude out, he ain't gonna do nothing but hit the streets like a madman trying to smash anything moving. You know what I'm saying? Meek Mill will be back over there talking about Diddy gang and Jane Doe, whoever's rent she paying, they'll have their own little freak off. I don't doubt it. I don't victim blame in any way. You know what I'm saying? And I'm very sorry for anybody that's been victimized by him. But that girl specifically, there was no victim in her. She did these things because she knew there was a means to an end. And though she may not have liked them and she wanted one-on-one things, she knew, I like this apartment I'm staying in. I like the money that my kid gets, from me doing all of these ridiculously weird things and disgusting things. I know I'm going the extra mile, but hey, look, I got a lifestyle I want to lead, and ain't nobody going out there, giving me nothing because, I've done, I'm out here as a sex worker. Everybody knows what I do. Most of these people will want interviews because they want to talk about all the things that happen and stuff like that, but we'll see what happens in October. Everybody stay up, stay faithful, stay blessed, and I'm out this joint. Peace.